How's it going, everybody? It's John Low Fox here. It's my channel where I talk about anime, video games, cartoons, most notably Sonic and Ninja Turtles. And today, I'm going to be talking about the DC and Sonic crossover. Yep. So, pretty much the DC Sonic crossover just wrapped up and all that stuff. And yeah, I'm here to talk about it. I know I didn't really exactly cover issue 4 when it came out. That's because I didn't really have much input to really say. So I figured, you know what, I might as well save it for the final review. So we're going to talk about it here, and I'll give you my thoughts about the 4th issue, and of course the conclusion to issue 5, my opinions, maybe some missed opportunities, what they could have probably done better, but what I think overall of it, of course, which would be my opinion. Alright, so let's get right into it. Issue number 4 follows up with the Justice League inhabiting Sonic's world after they had gotten separated from Team Sonic. They spend the story collecting Chaos Emeralds, fighting Badniks, and dealing with Darkseid's forces. Batman effortlessly defeats Metal Sonic. Wonder Woman teams up with Blaze against the Female Furies, which I also kind of do like. Blaze and Wonder Woman's dynamic, because you kind of got the cat princess who's like princess of the soul dimension, and then you got the Amazonian princess, Themyscira and stuff, kind of working together and teaming up. So that's also a pretty interesting parallel too. So yeah, I like that. Superman defeats Dr. Eggman with the Egg Emperor suit. And you also got Dr. Eggman and like Superman and stuff in there, little parallels here, where Dr. Eggman, you know, he's kind of like a, you know, stand-in kind of Lex Luthor and stuff, and Superman's just taking on like, you know, Dr. Eggman, just like he takes on Lex and all that, and Eggman's all like, ooh, I hate that Kryptonian, and he doesn't even have the nerve to even give me like some kind of banter like Sonic always does, you know. So yeah, kind of like a stand-in, also kind of like, ooh, I hate that hedgehog, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's pretty nice. I like it. Eggman also does the classic, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman, you know what I mean? Like, he does that and stuff too. So a lot of references and stuff just getting thrown out there just because, I guess, you know, it's Ian Flynn. So yeah, he just couldn't help himself. Green Lantern stops Granny Goodness and ends up saving the Wiz, which is pretty interesting to me, because if you know the Wisps are basically these alien-looking squids in the Sonic universe, where basically they have like a lot of like energy and stuff, and it makes sense that, oh, okay, they were like with Green Lantern and stuff, and like whenever Sonic uses them, you know, they're part of the game mechanic, which I never really had a problem with Wisps always being incorporated as a game mechanic. A lot of people did with the whole after, you know, Sonic Colors and stuff, but I think it's kind of unique, you know. I like it. It's definitely a better kind of replacement for like the power-ups, like the TVs and all that stuff, in my opinion. But yeah, that's just how I feel. But basically, the Wisps, they basically give like whoever, like Sonic for example, like a lot of power. So like, you know, they can help him boost faster. They can help him, like, you know, give him additional powers. Like, he can turn into a black hole, a giant like shark that can devour anything that's in his way, break down certain things, make platforms, turn into an orange rocket, a laser, etc. You know, so this definitely makes sense for like Green Lantern to kind of, you know, interact, or, you know, combine his power with the Wisp and stuff. So it was a really cool moment that he just took down Granny Goodness with this big super attack. So I like that. And then, you know, after like Flash saves the Deadly Six and stuff, the Deadly Six try to like pick a fight with the Flash and all that stuff, because, you know, they're Sonic's villains, and they're like, no, stand and fight, coward. And then Flash is like, are you guys as fast as Sonic? And then Zavok is like, no, but we're just as powerful, if not stronger than Sonic. And then Flash is like, oh, okay, I got you. And then Flash just takes off. He's like, all right, see ya. And then Zavok's like, what? You know, he can't catch up. He's like, ooh, he's just as bad as Sonic, you know. So that was also kind of a little bit of a funny moment, and a little bit of a rehash of like Sonic Lost World, where Baron Vermin is using the like the little shell thing that Dr. Eggman was using to kind of control them, to be a part of his little forces and all that stuff. They tend to kind of like fall into this pattern as like some kind of like trope or something, but it is what it is. But yeah, so that was pretty funny. Flash is also like, bats, oh god, I swear, there's like some kind of like a loop-de-loop, like, you know, like out the ground and everything, and it forms into some type of loop, you know, like, because Flash is probably like Green Hill Zone and stuff. He's probably like, you know, he's taking the detour, and he's like, oh my god, this is like amazing. And then Batman's like, maybe might have to try this out sometime, you know, with the Batmobile and stuff. So yeah, you get a little bit of some nice little moments like that. as well with the Flash. And I think this also kind of confirms that this is also Barry Allen, not Wally West. Even though I would have preferred them to use Wally West because he's kind of a better character. But Barry Allen, yeah, because Barry, this Flash says that he's a forensic scientist, which we all know Barry Allen is known for being a forensic scientist, whereas Wally, if I'm not mistaken, is an engineer. So, yeah. So, just to clear a few things up with this crossover. And then everyone basically regroups with Cyborg, who builds a device to summon Team Sonic. And then we lead into issue number 5, which is the conclusion of Team Sonic and Justice League, where they reunite to fight against Darkseid again, as everyone kind of makes their final stand against Darkseid. So pretty much Darkseid is fighting the Justice League and Team Sonic and all that stuff. He's choke holding Superman and all that stuff, blasting Omega beams. He's getting like roped up or whatever by like Wonder Woman and Batman and all of them. He does some type of Injustice shit. You know how like Darkseid's special in Injustice is where like he like summons that big ass hand thing from a portal and stuff, and then yeah, he slams Green Lantern, Silver, and all that. So yeah, Darkseid's like a monster. He is like fighting up everybody as a team buster and all that stuff. And so Sonic ends up becoming Super Sonic. And of course, Super Sonic and Darkseid are having this epic showdown and all that stuff. Like, you know, an epic battle between two gods and everything. Sonic's making fun of Darkseid and stuff, calling him Backside and all that stuff, talking about you hit like a featherweight god and all that stuff. You know, it's pretty cool. He like Darkseid headbutts Sonic and stuff. It's like, it's crazy. So pretty much Sonic is pretty much making Darkseid's day terrible and stuff. He tries to fire an Omega beam at Super Sonic, and then Superman steps in the way and tanks it, and then Sonic ends up spin dashing him and stuff. Silver hits him with the telekinesis and all that, and Green Lantern unloads on Darkseid and all that stuff, and Darkseid's just like, alright, I'm about to pull a Frieza and I'm about to just destroy reality itself, basically. But thanks to Flash via the Speed Force, Cyborg, and Tails, they basically reset the universe, or reset the worlds back to normal by doing some time travel shenanigans, basically. So that's basically the outline for issue number 4 and issue number 5 of the DC Sonic crossover. So here are some missed opportunities I thought that was like in the story and stuff. Mostly with issue number 4, which I didn't really talk about it by itself, isolated last time. But basically, there isn't really much I would really change, but I kind of wish that more outlets of like Sonic's world was kind of explored a little bit more, since that's kind of like the gist here with issue number 4. Like, we have Batman, which we open up with Batman like immediately defeating Metal Sonic and just taking the Chaos Emerald and stuff, and I'm just like, like I just was like, alright, that was a little anticlimactic that he just defeated Metal Sonic, you know, who's rivals of Sonic and almost just as fast. Probably probably the second fastest character in the series. But okay, cool, I guess. I mean, yeah. But I just felt like, yeah, with Batman though, they could have had him team up with somebody like Teen Chaotix and stuff, and maybe together they could have defeated Metal Sonic or whatever. And the reason why I say Teen Chaotix is because, you know, Teen Chaotix is also the detective agency inside the Sonic universe and stuff. So I think that would be kind of awesome if, like, Teen Chaotix got together and Batman was right there, and, you know, you had two of the world's greatest detectives and stuff inside the same room. Even though Teen Chaotix, I mean, they're great detectives, but I mean, you know, they're kind of the only detectives that we know of so far inside the Sonic universe. But I'm just saying, that could have actually been a little interesting. Or you could have actually had Rouge the Bat and stuff. Her and Batman could have teamed up. I think that would be a little bit ironic, but also kind of interesting too, you know, to have that dynamic, you know, because I mean, yeah, especially since like Shadow is already kind of like a stand-in for Batman anyways, and usually, you know, Rouge is like his partner and his best friend and all that stuff, you know. She can kind of be like, oh, Catwoman or something like that with Batman or whatever, you know what I mean? Like I kind of see that kind of dynamic happening, so I think that would also, and then of course, you know, the Bat theme thing too, of course, so, you know. I just think, oh man, they should have really done that. You know, if they were to like have Batman interact with somebody from Sonic's world, it should have been like Teen Chaotix and Rouge. But that's just my opinion though. But yeah. But anyways, but I have to say though, like reading this issue, it kind of does fall in line with a lot of my criticism that I've been having with Sonic for a while. And that is like, I kind of want to see more villains and stuff kind of be added to like the games. More original villains than just Dr. Eggman all the time, because they're kind of limited to what they have already from the games, because it seems like they're sticking to what's exclusive versus pulling from IDW in general, which I'll get into in a minute. But I mean, granted, they did use Metal Sonic, the Deadly Six, and of course Dr. Eggman and stuff. They're all included in this story per se, and they're all from the games and all that stuff. But I'm guessing they're kind of restricted for like at the moment just using game exclusive villains, than just ones that were created for IDW and stuff like Surge, Kid, Starline, Clutch, Rough, Tumble, or Mimic and stuff. Which I know Mimic and Starline, they just in case you don't know, they kind of got killed in some of the issues and stuff. Starline was killed off, but I kind of want that character to come back though. Mimic, he recently just got killed off by Whisper, so yeah. But I'm just saying though, like it would have been interesting if they were to find some kind of way, but maybe for like another crossover though. But yeah, and that's also kind of includes certain other IDW heroes and stuff that were kind of left out, like Tango, Whisper, Bell, or Lana Len being kind of left out until like a potential sequel maybe. So kind of like like the Sonic and Mega Man crossover, but I kind of want a little bit more of like some of the Sonic characters appearing to like help out the league and stuff, or like their villains and stuff going against them. That's just me. But the reason why I bring up the Sonic and Mega Man crossover is because the Sonic and Mega Man crossover, the first one, Worlds Collide, started off with Sonic exclusive characters from the games and stuff. Like you have, of course, Tails, Amy, Shadow, Blaze, Silver, Teen Chaotix, and all them stuff. All of them appearing to help out Sonic and Mega Man and all that. And then later on, when we get to like Worlds Unite, that's when they finally bring over some of the Archie exclusive characters and characters throughout some of the Sonic universe, like of course the Freedom Fighters like Sally, Antoine, Rotor, Bunny, and Nicole and all of them. And then they also brought in Styx from Sonic Boom. So that's why I feel like if they ever do a sequel to the DC Sonic crossover, they'll definitely pull from more characters, but I just felt like they probably wanted to keep it a little more self-contained and more kind of restricted to just using the more canonical characters and stuff versus, going all out. But that's just my observation though. But yeah. Overall, this was a pretty unique crossover, as I kind of said before. Seeing Sonic and his friends dressed up as the Justice League kind of just makes me think of like the Looney Tunes and stuff whenever they do that kind of thing, because I'm pretty sure we've all seen like the Looney Tune characters like Bugs Bunny, Lola, Daffy, or Porky, or whatever, or Elmer Fudd all dressed up like the Justice League characters, like either dressed up as like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, or something in the Flash. Yeah, like all of them dressed up and stuff. That's exactly how like the Sonic characters look to me. Like even though I'm more of a Sonic fan than I am a DC fan, it's just like, man, this is kind of a little bit just, I don't know, like kind of goofy, but I kind of like it though. It's a little silly and all that, but I kind of like the look, how they have like they're all dressed up as like their Justice League counterparts and stuff. So that's pretty nice. I definitely like the interactions, of course, between characters and stuff. So I liked my favorite interactions probably between Knuckles and Superman and stuff, because I kind of realized, wow, they have a lot of parallels I never thought about, because as I said before, like they're both the last of their own kind. They both favor the color red and stuff like that. They're both powerhouses and got super strength and all that. Have some type of attachment to green rocks in some kind of way, whether it's for better or for worse. They both fight ball of scientists like Lex Luthor or Dr. Eggman and stuff. So yeah, that's actually, I'm like, wow, never thought of Superman and Knuckles having a lot of correlations and stuff. And of course Sonic and Flash and stuff. I definitely liked with issue 5 when they like regrouped this stuff, like how Sonic and Flash was like, all right, let's see if you could alright, it's kind of hard to run without a platform. And then Sonic and Flash were like, had this idea of like, all right, let's try to do this thing where we're gonna like try and like run, but we're gonna try to match each other step by step or whatever. Yeah, that was kind of cool though. I was like, what in the world? That was pretty nice. And then of course Tails and Cyborg and stuff, that was pretty cool. Green Lantern and Silver, and then Wonder Woman, Amy, they definitely had some pretty cute interactions and stuff. I've done some drawings and stuff. I need to do more drawings of the DC and Sonic crossover, like the attires and stuff and the interactions to the characters. But yeah, but Amy and Wonder Woman definitely had a pretty cute dynamic. And then of course Batman and Shadow and stuff, them bonding over of course their loss and their grief and stuff. And of course them having some similarities, both kind of like favoring the darkness, or being kind of like we'll do whatever it takes and stuff, or doing things Yeah. And then Batman was like, "Is Gotham still good?" And then Shadow's like, "Yeah, it's good, but I mean, I kind of lost the Batmobile. Well, the Batmobile kind of got totaled though." And then Batman's like, it happens," you know. So it's pretty nice, you know. I like that. I definitely like the interactions between the characters. I always love interactions and stuff between characters and crossovers. Those are like one of the things I like to look forward to because like, huh, I never expected this character to like say that to this character, or how would they be like if they were, you know, in the same room, you know. So yeah, and then of course the matchups and stuff. That was pretty nice seeing like some of the Sonic characters take on some of the DC villains, seeing some of the DC villains take on. Well, basically they took on mostly like a lot of like Darkseid adjacent villains, but also kind of interacted with some Sonic characters and stuff too. Of course, the parallels. Well, I already said that the parallels between the characters, but yeah, and then of course the artwork and the coloring done by Adam Bryce Thomas and Matt Herms looks amazing. I rarely ever see like Adam Bryce Thomas because I'm so used to like seeing like his art style, at least for like animal characters, obviously because he works on Sonic and stuff. So it's definitely cool seeing some human characters outside of just Dr. Eggman all the time inside a Sonic book, at least in a long time. So that's pretty nice. So I like that. I really did. Of course, that fight between Super Sonic and Darkseid, you know I'm eating good with that one. Because, I mean, even though Darkseid's a cool villain and stuff, I keep telling you, Super Sonic is way more powerful than people give him credit for. Some people think, oh, well, he's just planet level. Oh, no. Super Sonic, trust me, Super Sonic, even in the games and stuff, is very overpowered and stuff. Like, he's done things like save the multiverse and stuff like that, save all the time in space, fight cosmic beings and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm like, I've been saying this for years, but I'm like, yeah, he can definitely go toe to toe with like Darkseid or something, you know. True Darkseid, probably not, but just a regular like, you know, Darkseid avatar like this, yeah, he can definitely, yeah, like he can definitely handle himself, you know. But it is what it is. But yeah, and normally, of course, you know, Sonic is usually kind of a kid's book and stuff, with a little bit of light swearing. Basically, they just say the word crap and stuff here and there. They don't go all in. But in this crossover, though, they actually do kind of step it up a little bit, where some characters are able to say stuff like damn and hell, mostly coming from the, of course, the Justice League members or DC characters like, you know, Flash or like Green Lantern. Well, I can't remember who. I know Flash did say, like, he was like, oh, hell, when Darkseid, like, shot Omega beams and stuff, and then, what's his face? Darkseid, what did he say? He was like, I will bring, I'm gonna bring hell to this world and stuff like that. You never really get to hear that inside a Sonic book, so that's kind of a first time, you know. But yeah, and it's not to say that Sonic doesn't have cursing in general. They just don't really have it in the comics, though. You know, of course, you know they had it in Sonic Gags or, as we all know, Shadow the Hedgehog. But yeah, so it's just kind of like, oh, that's definitely yeah. So yeah, but it doesn't go to extremes. Keep it a little bit mild. And maybe sometime in the near future, they'll probably do a sequel where Luthor, possibly the Injustice Gang as well, and Eggman's Ink Empire, they all team up, and we'll definitely see more heroes and villains come into the mix and stuff. So we'll definitely be getting some of the more IDW characters probably popping up if they ever do a sequel. But yeah, like I said, this is pretty good. Of course, you know what crossover I want. I want that TMNT and Sonic crossover. That's definitely what I want. And it's not even like a hard thing to do. It's like literally TMNT has done some crossovers with. They just got done doing a crossover with Naruto, which I never would have imagined. They did a crossover with He-Man, which that makes sense because they're both 80s icons and all that stuff. And they're currently about to do a crossover with Godzilla, so I'm definitely looking forward to that and seeing how that's going to play out. Sonic just did a crossover with DC. And it's also licensed by IDW, just like TMNT. So I was like, come on, IDW, you guys are doing all these crossovers and stuff. I'm like, why not do the obvious thing that's right there, which is Sonic and TMNT? I mean, Archie had this chance where they could have done that back in like the 90s, but they never really followed through with it. And IDW, I mean, like, I know they're teasing us with this because they literally did a little cover thing where Sonic and TMNT for that Summer Jam comic book thing with the Saturday morning cartoon and all that, they literally have TMNT and Sonic crossover over right there. So it's like, come on, I know you guys are just messing around. Like, come on, pull that trigger, do it, you know. But that's all I gotta say there. But anyways, but yeah, what do you guys think of this DC Sonic crossover and all that stuff? I thought this was definitely pretty good. If you want to get into Sonic and stuff as a DC fan, this might be it. If you want to get into DC and you're a Sonic fan, then this can also probably be a good, introduction or a good gateway into understanding the characters better, getting you more into the comics and all that stuff. But yeah, that's all I have to say here. Tell me down below what you guys think. This is Joe Fox. I'm out. Peace, and until we meet again.